Who decides what a super profit is?
Well, first, it's not nationalisation because of the rather obvious fact that the decision about whether or not to explore, about whether or not to mine, about selling minerals, about marketing, all those things are still done by the private company. So the claims that have been heard from, I think, Twiggy Forrest that this is nationalisation, I think, just do not stack up to any serious rational analysis.
When does it become nationalisation, though? At what point? 70%?
No, when you actually have the government buying the shares in the company.
95%?
No, when you have the Australian government acquiring BHP, that's what nationalisation is, ownership. This is not ownership. And
effective nationalisation. Well, taking the profit.
You're entitled to your view.
Okay, that's enough.
But I think you'll find that there's a few people around the place who don't agree with that view.
What about his original question? Who decides what a super profit is?
Well, which is a legitimate question tied to that question of the bond rate. Now, and this is a central question here. The difference, as Joe pointed out correctly before, the difference between this regime, or the key difference between this regime and the petroleum resource rent tax, is that the PRRT has a 5% factor on top of the bond rate as its kind of definition of the so-called super tax level. This one doesn't. But there's one other key difference. There's swings and roundabouts here, and that is that this tax proposal is also rebating losses. So in other words, we are saying to the miners, not only will we take 40% of your above a basic cost of capital profit, we will also rebate to you 40% on losses, and that will be transferable. So that does not apply with the petroleum resource rent tax. It's a legitimate debate about which is a better regime. That's fair enough. Different people have different views, and it's a very complex subject. But in making the comparison, you've got to compare both sides of the equation, not just the bit you don't like.
Joe Hockey.
This is a key point. The long-term bond rate of around 6% is deemed by markets to be a risk-free return, government guaranteed. So the government is now saying anything above 6% or 6% is actually risk-free. Well, they're dead wrong. And it's not a super profit.
You've just garbled
but the second point is, and this is very important, the government is on the hook for losses. So if the mining industry starts to have significant losses, and they've done that in the past, not only will the government lose the revenue, they will start writing out taxpayers' cheques to failed mining companies.
I thought they were leaving the country.
Well, you can be cynical about it, Lindsay, but I tell you what.
Hang on, which is it? They're either staying here and making losses, or they're leaving the country.
Well, I tell you what, Lindsay, there will be miners.
Get your line straight, for God's sake.
Lindsay, you're the finance minister.
You can't have both, you know. You're saying on the one hand the company's response is going to be they're all going to leave the country because it's not worth it. But on the other hand, well, they are going to stay here and they're going to invest in loss-making mines.
You did pause. And
sorry. I was overcome by the absurdity of the moment, Tony.
If you have a revenue...